Okay, ever just stop and wonder, how does our world actually work? I mean, the systems we count on every single day, the food that just shows up in our cities, the planes zipping across the sky, they seem impossibly complex, right? But what if I told you their origin isn't some grand design? Nope. It's a story about the smallest minority there is, the individual. We're going to unravel this whole thing.
So let's kick things off with what might be the single biggest puzzle in all of social science. And I'm not kidding. It's a question so fundamental that once you really get it, you'll start seeing it absolutely everywhere.
And that question is this: who's in charge of it all? No, seriously, think about it for a second. Who coordinates the billions of decisions made by millions of us every single day that somehow result in a world that, well, works? Is there some master architect, a central command center pulling all the strings?
I mean, just take a look at a city like New York. You've got millions of people, and every single morning, just the right amount of milk, bread, and coffee shows up. No one starves, but there aren't mountains of rotting food either. How? Or get this, a Boeing 747. It has something like 6 million parts. Who is the person directing the mining, the manufacturing, and the shipping of every single one of those little pieces to get them all to the right place at exactly the right time? It's mind-boggling. This is where the economist F.A. Hayek just nails it. He put it like this: how can all these little fragments of knowledge, scattered across millions of different minds, create results that would require a single directing mind to know everything? Which, of course, no single person can. The total knowledge needed to run this whole show is spread out among all of us. So how on earth does this incredible feat of coordination actually happen?
Now, the most common answer, the one that probably just popped into your head, feels so intuitive, so obvious, but it's actually a trap. Let's call it the planner's fallacy.
Our brains are just wired this way. We see something complex and orderly, and we automatically assume someone must have designed it. You know, there has to be a conscious plan. It feels totally rational, right? I mean, surely something as important as feeding a city can't just be left to happen on its own. And you see this instinct pop up in debates about literally everything, from local zoning laws to huge national policies.
Hayek had a name for this mindset: false individualism. It's this belief that to be rational, we have to consciously build society from the top down, almost like an engineer building a machine from a blueprint. And this idea has been around for centuries, but it's turned out to be a huge roadblock to figuring out how things really work.
And this really breaks down the two competing ideas perfectly. On one hand, you've got the engineer's mindset. Society is something to be designed and built. And on the other, you have the gardener's humility. A gardener knows you can't design a tomato plant. You can't force it to grow. But you can create the right conditions, the right soil, the right amount of water, and then let it flourish on its own.
So why are we so drawn to the idea of a plan? Well, a few reasons. First, we just crave making sense of the world. We want it to be neat and tidy. Second, it's kind of like a revolt against randomness. When the market doesn't go our way, we lose a job, gas prices shoot up. It feels like we're at the mercy of these huge invisible forces. And finally, there's resentment. The economist Ludwig von Mises pointed this out. In a competitive world, if we don't succeed, it's a lot easier on the ego to blame the system than it is to look in the mirror.
Okay, so if it's not a central plan, then what is it? Well, the real answer is something way more elegant, way more powerful. It's an incredible marvel of coordination that happens from the bottom up.
You see, the whole idea of a central planner has a fatal flaw. One it can never escape: the knowledge problem. There's simply no way that one person or one committee or even the world's biggest supercomputer could ever know all the tiny, local, constantly changing bits of information that each one of us has about our own lives and needs.
So what's the solution? Hayek called it a marvel. It's the price system. And you have to stop thinking about prices as just numbers on a tag. Think of them as a massive global communication system, a telecommunications network that shares critical information instantly, all without anyone being in charge.
Okay, let's make this real with Hayek's classic example, tin. Let's say someone somewhere discovers a great new use for tin. All of a sudden, demand goes way up. Now, tin producers see the price rising and they think, great, let's make more. But here's the magic part. Everyone else who uses tin, car makers, can manufacturers, you name it, they don't need to know why the price went up. They just see the new, higher price. And that single number tells them everything they need to know. Hey, tin is a little more precious now. Use less of it or find a substitute. Boom. Just like that, millions of people all over the world adjust their behavior, perfectly coordinated by one little price signal. and not a single top-down order was ever given.
And that brings us to the absolute heart of it all, what Hayek called true individualism. It's not about the arrogance of a planner thinking they can design the world. It's the exact opposite. It's about humility. It's about recognizing that all of us, acting freely on our own little piece of knowledge, create these incredible, complex systems that no single mind could ever have designed from scratch. The smallest minority, the individual, that's the real source of order.
Okay, so now that we've got this master key, this idea of spontaneous order, we can use it to unlock even deeper mysteries. Let's take this idea and apply it to something we use every single day without a second thought: money.
So let me ask you this. Was money invented? I mean, did some king or a council of smart people sit around a table one day and say, hey, let's invent this thing called money? It's easy to think so. It seems so fundamental, it must have been a deliberate creation, right?
Well, the wild thing is, no. According to thinkers like Ludwig von Mises, money wasn't invented, it was discovered. It emerged spontaneously. Think about the old barter system. To trade, you had to find someone who had what you wanted and wanted what you had. It's a huge pain. So some clever individuals started thinking, instead of my chickens, maybe I'll accept this bag of salt. Not because I need salt, but because I know everyone else accepts salt, so it'll be easier to trade later. And as more and more people started doing that, one thing, the most marketable, most easily traded good, naturally became the common medium of exchange. And poof, money was born. Not from a plan, but from individuals just trying to make their lives easier.
So this whole tension, this battle between order that bubbles up from the people and order that's forced down by planners, this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. This conflict is playing out right now, today, with new technologies that are challenging the entire planner's worldview at its very core.
21 million. What is that? What does this number mean? Well, it represents a hard limit, an unchangeable cap. It represents absolute scarcity, a quality that used to be the most important feature of the best kinds of money, things like gold. That number, of course, is the fixed supply of Bitcoin. Now, hey, set aside whatever you think about it as an investment for a second. From the philosophical angle we're talking about today, it's a fascinating experiment. It is a modern attempt to create a new kind of money from the bottom up, one that runs on unbreakable rules instead of the whims of rulers, completely outside the control of any central planner.
And the motivation behind building a tool like this? It echoes the exact same concerns we've been talking about. As author Brian Harrington puts it, this might be a fix for government-run currencies that many people are convinced are, quote, 100% going to fail. It's a direct response to a system of centralized monetary control.
And so here we are. The great intellectual battle rages on. Is order something that has to be imposed from the top down by a planner, or is it something that emerges naturally from the free actions of individuals? This debate is not just for university classrooms anymore. It's happening in real time.
And that leaves us with one last big question. We started this whole thing by asking how our complex world actually works. And the answer, it seems, lies with the smallest minority of all, the individual. So if that's true, and if the tools those individuals can use to coordinate with each other are just now starting to get really interesting, what new worlds, what new kinds of order will they build next?